Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Lion Podcast. My name is Aaron Alexander. Today's phenomenal episode was with two people that I admire and appreciate in the world, Alex and Mimi Ikonn. They are icons of sorts, no pun intended, in the world of entrepreneurship, in the world of wellness, lifestyle, living life by your terms. Between the two of them, they've got, I'm sure, like over 1 billion views on their various channels on the old internet, and I think they are a worthy model to follow on how to effectively live life with compassion, live life through your heart, and not get tied up in all the BS. So I'm really grateful for this conversation. I know you guys are going to dig it and hope you enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to the website, alignpodcast.com, ALIGNpodcast.com. On there, y'all can start the 5-day movement challenge, which breaks down 5 fundamental movements that everybody ought to have in their daily existence if they give a dang about their energy levels, about confidence, about pain in their body. Your physical movement is an expression of the way that you think and the way that you feel, and also is associated to strength, flexibility, all the things that are fun to have in this life. So check that thing out at alignpodcast.com. Want to thank Blue Blocks for supporting this podcast. Blue Blocks is one of the raddest blue blocking glasses that I have encountered. They're actually stylish. I'm actually proud to wear them if I go to like a grocery store at night, or I'll wear them, about an hour or so before I go to bed if I'm around my house. Typically, another good thing to do is like use salt lamps. Just generally keep the lights lower once the sun goes down. When the sun is up, it signals to your body that it's time to get up and stimulate yourself and get all the cortisols and all the kind of up-regulating type hormones that surge through your body to go. Once the sun goes down, it's time to down-regulate and get the melatonins going and kind of get yourself ready to sleep. When we are exposed to those blue lights coming out of your ceiling, of your lamps around your house, it disturbs sleep function. You disturb sleep function, you go through a whole cascade of bummers to come. So I highly recommend getting yourself a pair of blue blocking glasses. And you can get yourself some stylish ones and 15% off when your purchase if you go to blueblocks, BLUBLOX.com/align, ALIGN. 15% off your purchase and steeze yourself up with some blue blocking glasses. I think we're good. Thank you guys so much for reviews on iTunes. Thank you so much for doing you. And I hope you devour this conversation, get a lot from it. I know you will. Here we go. Back to some of my preferred human beings in the world, Alex and Mimi Ikonn. Bow.
Align Podcast.
We've been having a lot of like meta kind of outside of the box conversations in the last
Which we
couple
all
days.
love.
Yeah. So what do you think of the whole like law of attraction and what you were intending was to only make a few grand a month, and then all of a sudden it became much more than that?
I think here's how I'll tell you. I think we did create law of attraction. We manifested a lot of stuff. I think where a lot of people get law of attraction, I guess, I don't want to say wrong. It's nothing's really wrong, but
they get confused.
They get confused about it.
How
is that
it works.
I think the most important thing where I'm really grateful for the life that we live now, and we still focus on this to this day, is that we focus on the lifestyle piece and how we feel and emotions we want to experience versus the actual things.
Yeah.
So you can
or the actual number. Yeah, I think the most important thing is also like what you put out, like what value do you want to bring in the world. So even though we now have several businesses, our goal is never like the number. It's about the impact and like what is the value that we can bring. And sometimes it's even hard to explain to our employees, especially the ones that come from the corporate background. They're like, okay, but what about the numbers? And we're like, let's think of how we can bring more value, because bringing more value always ends up in more dollars. So like we've seen that in our journey as entrepreneurs, because we just grew like crazy from like the first year. Like that's when we made our first $1 million. And obviously I'm not saying this to impress. It's just like we had no business background. I'm a college dropout. Alex went to university, but we both had no mentors. Our parents are not entrepreneurs. We knew no other entrepreneurs. So we just like learned everything and we went. And for us to be able to do that just shows that really, if you focus on the right things and you do things consistently and you work hard, then, and of course you have to be at the right time at the right place. You know, people say, well, you get lucky. Like, I think luck is just, you know, as the saying goes, when opportunity meets preparation. And yeah,
and failing for 2 years was preparing us
we
for
failed
success.
before. I mean,
2
not
years isn't that long.
yeah, I know, but we were like 22, right? So like, when you're 22, it feels like it's a long time.
It's
now
a
looking
good
back,
fraction of your whole life at that point.
And I would say, even for me, prior to the 2 years, it's that my mind has always been on business. So what I would say is, okay, that was those 2 years of focused failure. However, for example, and I think for a lot of people listening, is in even wanting to get into entrepreneurship or into that kind of field, you have to understand, like, do you still have some sort of, is that something that you'd want to do or explore? For example, for myself, I immigrated with my parents to Canada when I was about 9-10 years old. We didn't really have money, so when I saw other kids going to the movies and doing stuff, I would say to my mom, hey, can I have some money? And like, well, we don't have any. And then my mom, divorced my dad, so the money was really tight. And then I was like, okay, so if I want money, she's like, I have to go out and make it. So then I would just start, for example, I heard my sister knew this guy who would like wholesale flowers to like minors, and then you can go to like strip mall plazas and sell these flowers to people. So I was like 11 years old, this Russian immigrant kid, barely speaking English, like hustling flowers to people in parking lots. And at the end of the day, you kind of, you pay for what the flowers, whatever the guy wholesales you for, and you make your cut. So already at 11 years old, I was learning about sales. I was learning about like, okay, profit, margin, marketing tactics. Like, so when we talk about like preparation, so it was out a decade by the time I was like 21, 22, or whatever, we had that business. And I'll have other ventures. The side hustle that I got fired for, there was an opportunity where you can buy cars in the US, and certain people in Russia would want to buy it. So we would kind of broker the cars. We would find the cars, we would ship it over to Russia, do all the paperwork, and make kind of commission for that. So there's all these kind of ventures and things that I would do as a way to make money, to be able, because I never had parents who would be able to give me money. So, and my mom can even tell you of stories where I'll be like 13, 14 years old, taking like my whole family to like, a restaurant or have like my own, gear and basketball. Like I would be able to provide for myself. So, and that's what I mean about, to anybody listening really, is that sometimes it really does take, you don't know that those little things actually prepare you. And I would actually say a lot of the street hustle is so relevant, especially in the early entrepreneurship, because it's all about that
real life experience.
Real life experience. One of my, we don't watch much TV, but I remember back in the day, I love this show. It was called, remember about New York? Something about, it was about like these New York hustlers, and that's why I really appreciate guys like peddling jeans on the street and things like that. So like those kind of things can take for granted, because it's all about like, oh, what business school did you go to? But I went to business school as well, and I would say I've learned way more on this kind of the streets to a certain regard versus actual business, because business school only teaches you stuff that you need like when you have a big business. But most people are not dealing with big business. They're dealing with just human to human, really small business.
What do you think are some standout factors for you guys to make the first like million in that year, that compared to a lot of people that may have been working to create this idea or cultivate this thing and gain momentum and all that for a long time, and then they just quit because it never happened?
Alex can talk about it a lot, actually. He has this formula called QVCA, and you can go into that. But I think like we didn't realize at first what we were doing, because it was our first business, like an actual business. Because before that, it was more like we were providing services, but this was the first business where we had a physical product. Like you have with your own product, right? And then like maybe a few years later, we looked back and we're like, okay, let's figure out what exactly did we do, because there must be something that we were doing right, and we really want to understand it so we can also share it with people. So then we understood that there were a few things that we're doing right that people can apply in anything that they do. And the formula, Alex calls it QVCA, and it stands for quality, value, consistency, and authenticity. So you can get into the quality if you want.
Yeah, I'll say also in regards to like QVCA, one of the reasons why I kind of pinned that is, the biggest shopping network in the US and probably the world is QVC. Yeah, QVC. And with QVC, I really believe that's not the way we want to sell. That's not the way I believe that's outdated model. Yes, they still make billions of dollars and people purchase that way. However, for myself, I really don't believe that's the way that people, especially our generation, wants to really consume or buy stuff. We really want to be able to consume products where the content, how the certain products are communicated to us, are in a way that show off the potential of what this product can do. So, for example, before getting to the whole formula of QVCA, it's really about, I think prior to that, there was also the thing of, that's very important to mention, is that YouTube. And the reason that our business took off as much as it did is that as any business, you have to have leverage. And how do you have leverage in order to get the eyeballs you need to be able to help your business grow? And I think we're still, even 8 years later or 9 years later after we started then, you still have this is just the beginning. As we were speaking earlier, we're really living through the it's not even an industrial revolution, but through a creative revolution, whatever you may call it, where just regular people, individuals like us, now have, we're sitting in the room with a little device that we're able to record pretty much studio sound, then be able to distribute it through a network where anybody around the world can just tune in and subscribe and listen to this, which is like incredible. Like we're sitting on literally and using billions of dollars worth of infrastructure that we can just dabble and play around with. So with us, we understood right away that the way to leverage and to get kind of exposure is through YouTube. So right away I told Mimi and her sister with our first business, when we got the idea, is like, okay, you're going to start creating YouTube videos and YouTube content to help distribute ideas around how this product can actually be used in real life. Because the most important thing to understand for people when they're selling a product is nobody cares about your product. So for example, let's say your product is a line band. A line band. So let's be real. Like nobody, can we swear here?
Cuss away.
Okay. Yeah. Nobody gives a shit. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people and business people, they get precious about their product, but you have to understand that nobody cares. Okay, once you have that realization, you understand that, okay, how do I make people care? Well, you make people care is by understanding what they're looking for and their needs. So through content, you can actually create content that demonstrates to what they are actually after and what they're looking for.
Yeah, so how is it going to solve their problem, their issue that they're dealing with?
Also emotional connection, right? Something to identify with. Is that something you guys ponder on at all with that?
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
Do you remember what are they called? The back in like I think it was the 20s, 30s, they called them freedom sticks, cigarettes. They got women to start smoking cigarettes because it was like represented a phallus, and it was like this whole thing where it was like their stand against men, liberation. Yeah, exactly. So you have all these women marching down the street with cigarettes in their faces, and it was these freedom sticks.
How much has changed?
And so if you take the cigarette itself, it's like, oh, what is that? It's just this thing that causes cancer or whatever. I think tobacco has a lot of potential value, but then all of a sudden, no, it's not just that. It's a freedom stick.
Exactly.
That's what I stand for.
Yeah. So with us, what we did is just create content around our product was hair extensions. So it was like all about hair, but it was not about the product. We never pitched or sold the product.
Right.
What we did was just create content about hair tutorials. So women are looking for how to create different hairstyles or how to have better hair or certain hair products. And they're just coming up on our page and then realizing, oh, like, how come her hair looks way longer and better than mine? And then they just dig into it and make the realization themselves that, hey, like, well, if I have this product, I'll be able to create, let's say, certain hairstyles that I can't because my hair is shorter. For example, if you see also a lot of other great businesses, for example, your friend Aubrey with On It, what makes that a great business as well, they generate a lot of free, valuable content that just make people who are not even at all even interested in On It products, let's say, then become interested. Because let's say they're just listening to Aubrey's podcast and they're like, oh, cool, maybe I should check this out. Or same with your podcast, maybe they're just tuning in just for this conversation. Then they hear me mentioning about your Align band. All of a sudden, like, what's this Align band? What's Alex talking about? Then people get curious. But the way you got them in is through actually getting them, for example, entertainment or knowledge or anything else. So that's the kind of the preface that I want to mention, is that's what we focus on and understood, is that content is a really powerful form of storytelling to get people intrigued.
But also create a relationship with your audience, because people don't want to just buy from anybody. I think like the customers and the consumers we're dealing with now, and we are now ourselves, is like that educated customer. We want to support somebody we believe in, and we want to like the philosophy. Of course, I'm generalizing here, but I believe that's where consumer movement is going towards. Yeah. And I think having that story and having that philosophy and having that content as big part of your business can only help you grow and scale.
It's crazy, like, it feels like the creation of tribes is really valuable, in community.
Massive.
And it seems like present day, maybe because I'm from the present day, it's what I see. But you have so much more opportunity to create this deep relationship with the people that you purchase your crap from via things like podcasts and via, all these outlets that back in the day, it was like, you just get blasted with this quick little advertisement thing. And it was like, you see sometimes I'll see that with, especially even recording podcasts sometimes with people that are like older, they come from that generation. There's almost this mode, where like, oh, like little sound bites, or people that do TV, do TV, and they're not really familiar with like long form conversation. Everything's packed down in this little sound bite, but it's not real.
It's very rehearsed, yeah.
Yeah. And it feels to me like people are like, I'm over that shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not a real human, I don't want your stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like that.
Yeah, I think that's where it's all going.
Yeah, I think so right. I believe it's for sure. I still don't discount the other previous kind of that thing still works. QVC still sells billions of products.
Still ways to like hack into that thing.
However, I believe, especially in regards to the newer generation or the current generation, more and more people are waking up. More and more people want to deal with humans, and it's going back to that kind of community feel, at least even on a world scale. Like, even though we live in London, our businesses are based in, let's say, Toronto, Canada, we deal mostly with US customers. It doesn't matter, because as long as we're speaking the same language and we're communicating in the same way that people are able to understand, and they're able to connect with us, the connection is the most important thing that matters, and that form of community or being able to be part of something. But going back to the QVCA, just to give people some tips in regards to content generation, even for you creating this, you might be doing this without understanding this, is that, so what we realize in regards to content and how content can lead to sales. However, when you create content, you have to understand, number one, as Mimi said, quality. Are you creating quality content? So if, for example, you're creating podcasts, well, you have to at least have the basics, meaning have a decent mic, don't record in windy conditions, make sure people can understand and comprehend what you're saying, and it's still pleasant to your ears. At the same time, don't overdo it. A lot of people think, okay, I'm going to start, or they don't start because they think, oh, I need to have these most expensive mics for $2,000. I need to be in a studio. Like, you're overthinking it. Like, look here, our mics costs like under $100. Like that thing, okay, it costs a few $100. Okay, this is a still more expensive setup. You can have a setup even for less. It will still sound decent. So with the thing with quality is like your quality can't be too low, but it doesn't have to be too high. As long as you're like in the middle, it should be fine. And same thing with video.
Yeah.
With video is actually overproduced videos actually don't work as well.
So
Not on YouTube,
It feels
yeah.
less personal.
Yeah. So like that's one of the things to consider when quality. But quality also feeds to the next thing that we talk about in QVC is also value. Is your content delivering value? And what does that mean in terms of value? Is it entertaining? Is it educational? Is it some way helping people out? As long as you're delivering some sort of value to people, that's what you have to understand is like, this is the content you're creating. It's, once again, it's not about you. It's not about your company. But what do you really, how are you really getting people interested in what you're doing to get them intrigued and to come to you to want to listen to or watch or come to whatever you're creating? That's to value. The last two bits are the most important. And this is the thing that even I'm aware of this, and I fail this all the time, and I'm conscious of it. So you got quality, you got value. Are you being consistent?
Right.
So many people start creating, they do for 6 videos or they do for 6 podcast episodes, and they quit.
It didn't work.
Yeah,
I don't have 1 million followers. I did 12 videos.
Exactly. And I think, you know, you being in more of the fitness space, you understand it's the same thing with your body or your mind, is that you have to be consistent with a practice to get the results that you want. But so many people believe that they can just have a magic pill and all of a sudden they're going to be overnight success. And that's not the fact. That's not going to how it happens. So right away, even with us, we were very consistent. We said, okay, we're going to commit to doing 1 video a week, or at the beginning it was even 2 videos a week for like a year or 2 at least. And that's what we did. And with time, everybody who you see who has millions of followers, whatever, everybody starts at 0. Right. And that's the most important thing to understand. Yes, sometimes people get lucky on algorithm. It does happen, in regards to like, you can be at the right place at the right time with the algorithm, whether it be Instagram or YouTube or podcast or whatever it may be. However, there's overall though, the consistency piece is important because you have to see consistency as a way you're planting seeds for you be able to get found. So it's the same thing, as if you're creating videos or podcasting. The more content you create and the more, search engine optimization, whatever you want to call it, but it's really just a different way for people to find your content. That's why it's important when you're titling your stuff or naming it, that it's something that people are looking for and that they'll find. That's why it's good to have, for example, if you have a podcast, even have up on your blog. Blogging is not dead at all. And so that's consistency. The other part of consistency that is very important is your content consistent? Meaning if you have a certain area of expertise, a certain area you're producing, stick to that. Right. Don't swing too much into like cat videos, for example. If you're doing, let's say, fitness stuff, why are you showing me cats? Or like, I don't care about your cats. I came to you because I want to learn about being more fit or being more mindful, whatever it is. So you really have to be consistent and create a certain expertise. So for example, Luxy Hair, one of our first channels, that became one of the largest channels on YouTube with, I think it's almost like, almost half a billion views or something like that on hair tutorials that we've created. And through that content, we were then able to generate millions of dollars, right? But it was all in a way strategic and most importantly, consistent to make sure that we're producing hair content because our product is hair. So for example, for you, let's say with a line band, let's say it's on YouTube, you want to create content that will help people who are looking, where your product will benefit them. Right. And whether it be in fitness or well-being, whatever, you're the expert, you know what your people are looking for. And the last one, which I believe is the most underrated, but the most important, is authenticity. Meaning, is the content you're producing actually authentic to what your interests are, or what you're actually good at? So for example, Mimi wasn't actually like a hair expert, right? However, so people say, oh, that's not really authentic to her. She's not a hairdresser. She's not a professional. So why does she have the right to do this on YouTube? The reality is she was genuinely interested in learning herself how to do certain hair tutorials and how to teach others. And that's why she was effective, because it felt genuine and authentic when people watch it.
You have to enjoy it. I think ultimately people will feel the energy you're putting out. And the feedback I've always gotten from my videos, regardless of what it was about, whether it was a vlog, a hair tutorial, is that like you brought a certain type of energy that I enjoyed watching. And you can only bring that energy if you genuinely enjoy what you're putting out.
And
you
that
can't
comes
fake
back to
it.
the
People
consistency as well.
Yeah, I mean, all the other ones. So authenticity is so huge because it's something that people will sense. And it's like the body language, you're huge into that as well, right? Like it's the way you present yourself, it's the eye contact, it's everything. And you really can't fake that.
What kind of struggles do you guys experience in your relationship / business partnership / mother and fatherhood?
That's a very interesting question. You have very heavy questions. What struggles? Well, I mean, struggles really. It's not something we talk a lot about, actually. I'd say for us, because we do everything together, from work to like real life and then parenting, and then we used to spend a lot of time together before, like with Alex, literally would be like 24/7 together. And then now that, we have Alexa, our daughter, she's 2.5, I spend a lot of time with her at home, and I just work from home, and Alex prefers to go to the office. So our current struggle is the fact that we actually enjoy being together, like physically 24/7. And like, it's actually hard for us not to be together, because like we are so, like, we're always talking about work. Like there's no separation for us, because work is what our life is. And people say like you have to have the balance. Of course, you do. But I think if you really enjoy what you do, like you really don't ever feel like you're working. Like I can always talk about it, and it just makes me excited. It makes me feel alive. So I feel for us now it's like getting easier, because Alexa's starting nursery part-time, and then she'll be 3, we'll start more and more. Like we miss that ability to like physically work together all the time, like every day, because I think we're more powerful when we do that. Like it's just a whole different energy.
You feel dependent on each other?
No, absolutely not. No.
You both feel like you're coming in at 100, like we mentioned earlier.
It's a very important thing for us. I think in a way we do depend, but it's like very consciously we work on being independent and like happy, fulfilled individually. Yeah. And then bringing in 100. Yeah.
I would say it's not...
As opposed to being 50-50.
What I would add is it's not that it's dependency. I just believe what we've experienced is when you do come together in a partnership, and it doesn't have to be a romantic partnership, it can be a business partnership. However, sometimes when there are certain synergies that you just magnify, and that's what can happen with I think great partnerships. Like I said, it doesn't have to be romantic. It just all of a sudden just sparks fly, and you're able to create just way more than you could by yourself.
You complement.
So you complement. Is there a dependency? I guess sort of. I like, one of the things that we talked with you the other night is about, kind of masculine and feminine, and and kind of a whole thing about, Mimi has a book about bingo theory, about masculine and feminine energy, and in that, me actually being more of the feminine strength, as Mimi calls it in the book. Some can refer to beta, and it can be as a more negative thing. However, it's not a negative thing, and for me, it's where I have certain strengths in that, where I'm more laid back. I'm not as driven as Mimi. Mimi is actually more a masculine strength female, meaning she is more alpha. She's ambitious. She wants to drive. If it was up to me, I'll probably just chill and coast a lot of times. However, because we're together, I'm like, oh crap. And that's why we work together. Like I'm way more productive when Mimi's in the office. I'm like, oh, okay, like I have to get stuff done. Versus like, oh, I'll just schedule 2-hour lunches and just hang out.
Yeah, Alex is super creative, and he's like, he has such high emotional intelligence, but he's not as driven, let's say, as I am. So yeah, like when you combine that and the drive and the consistency, because I'm the person who's always like, we got to put out consistent work, and whether it's creative work or just any type of work, then you have that magic happen. And yeah, I think that's the beauty of our relationship, business and personal.
What do you think that drive is in the first place? I was listening to a thing today about like the Maasai people and like pygmy cultures and all that, and like the amount of like traditional hunter-gatherer societies, the amount of work that they put in each day is very small in comparison to Western culture. Meanwhile, they're dramatically happier than Western culture if you actually quantify it and go in. Like there's been, you know, MIT researchers went down to the Praha people and like studied how much they're smiling, and they smile a freak ton, you know. Meanwhile, they're just cruising around like gathering fish, and you know, if they catch fish that day, they smile. If they don't catch fish that day, they smile. You know, I always wonder what like the seed of drive is in Western culture in general. Have you ever like thought into that?
I think for me, I don't know about the Western culture in general.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I can have all these theories, but I can only talk about from personal experience. For me, the drive comes from that personal fulfillment of living my purpose. I feel very clear about why I'm here and what my value is, like what I need to deliver. So then it's just about doing it. So it's hard for me to escape that and just chill sometimes, because I feel like time is so precious. Totally. And nobody knows how much we have. And I'm very excited about doing what I do. And that's what drives me every single day. And that's why I'm like, oh, we have so much to do. It's like not enough time. You know, sometimes I'm like so excited. I'm like, why do we need to go to sleep? Like, I would rather just like work and do things.
How do you stumble into purpose?
How do I stumble into purpose?
Yeah, do you like build purpose?
I think the purpose comes from self-awareness. For me, anyways. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think a lot of people look for purpose, but it comes from like finding who you are more and more. Like for me, a lot of my purpose came from, a lot of my awareness of purpose came from doing meditation. Actually, that's something we didn't talk about like a couple of nights ago when you were over, is that when we started our business and we made that first million in the first year, I got severely depressed and anxious. And in a way, like I was living this dream life where I'm married to the love of my life. Relationship is great. I'm healthy and young. I can buy anything I want. I can go to any place in the world, which has always been like a dream of mine. And yet I'm severely depressed, like to the point where I got so anxious, like I was even socially anxious. Like I didn't want to leave the house. Like it would just give me so much energy just to like do a simple task. And it was really scary and dark place of to be in and of my life. But also it taught me so much, because before that, I always was under the impression, coming from a family who had very little financially, I believe that when we make it big and like when I have money, that's when I'll be happy. That's when like I'll be like on top of it. I guess emotionally as well, but that was such a big lie and myth. I think that's what we're all sold through traditional media or just media in general. And then getting there so fast, like just didn't expect that. It was so overwhelming. But also I realized it does nothing to me. And it was like a big crash of not identity, but like values, I think. And then I almost had to like reevaluate everything. Like, okay, so why then what am I here for? Like, what's my purpose? Okay, if it's not the money and attaining like superficial success, then what is it? And thankfully, I stumbled upon Vipassana meditation because Alex's sister done that to heal her insomnia like years ago. And it really, I would say, saved my life. Yeah, I'm so grateful I did that.
How long did the elation last upon reaching your monetary goal or whatever the goal was?
What do you mean by elation? Like,
did you have a moment where it's like, cool, I have like, so you on your Instagram you have like over 1 million followers.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like I'd imagine there was a moment where you had 999 where you're probably like, oh
no,
there's nothing.
Yeah, there's zero attachment. It's very consciously
beautiful.
it's something I'm very cautiously working on. I had a friend over yesterday. We had a friend over yesterday here, and she said, "Well, how did you feel? Because we recently sold Luxy Hair, the business we were talking about just now." And it was a great thing. Like, we got exactly what we wanted. We're not attached to the business anymore. We don't even have to be there, which is so unique. And she's like, "So how did you feel? Like, did you celebrate? Like, do you feel like it's like you were so accomplished now?" Right. And I'm like, I felt like nothing, absolutely nothing. The day was sold, Alex and I were like, "Okay, so what do we do next?" We're not motivated or excited. I'm very grateful, though. I want to make it clear that I'm still extremely grateful, because it's so incredible to be in a position to create a business and then sell a business and have all this financial abundance, but I don't take it lightly. I believe you given financial abundance or creative inspiration to do something with it. And again, I don't take that lightly, and that's where, through meditation, I just became aware that my purpose here is really to do the work that I'm here to do. And anytime I face a dark period of time, I also use that as an inspiration then to share people how I got out of it. But instead of being a victim, it's like, okay, so this is an interesting time. Let me learn and get myself out of this, and then I can share. Like, it's a beautiful thing. So it's something I remind myself when I go through challenges in life. I'm like, okay, this is something I'm going to share with lots of people now. But when you said about the having whatever Instagram followers, I just
money, like the Instagram, I would expect that not to be as big of a thing, but like your first time you made $1 million, whatever your goal was in your early 20s, where like we've arrived, and then that led to the depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was what I meant by the moment of arriving.
So fast. No, there was no moment of arrival, because that was depression.
Okay.
And
you could feel it coming, like, oh God, in 3 days I'll have nothing to work for.
I had complete apathy. I didn't want to buy anything. I literally nothing really changed. I actually didn't even want to travel, because the goal was to travel the world and live in all these places in the world. And we did that a little bit. But then I said, Alex, I'd rather just be in one place now and actually figure this stuff out, because when you're moving around, it's kind of it's hard to do that, because you don't know where you're eating, where you're sleeping. It's very mentally consuming to be constantly traveling. So I said, no, I think we should go back, and I really need to deal with this stuff. And it was a great decision. And then we got an office, and we decided actually the 4-hour work week is not something we want to do. We want to have a base. I think it's mentally important to have a base. You can still travel a lot, but it's good to have an anchor in life. And that's what we've been practicing ever since that period of life. Yeah.
And the unique thing about Mimi, though, is that, as you asked and as she said, she didn't actually, for her, it was instant. I remember we started our business, and in about 2 months, we were traveling to south of France for a trip that we booked prior to even starting the business. We're we're going to make it. We booked this trip to South France. It was very frugal still. Well, it sounds fancy that we're going to South France, but we got this place for through Couchsurfing
for $740 a month euros, which is unheard of.
With ocean views, it was pretty incredible. So Couchsurfing, it's not only just for staying on people's couches for free, but you can also rent or find some people where you can rent pretty nice places for really low. No, not sponsored.
Yeah, this is years ago. I don't know what Couchsurfing is still there.
If you're listening, taking sponsors.
Yes, exactly. Come to us.
Come to Aaron Alexander. But what I was saying about that is that it was unique, where Mimi it hit her right away. So it's not like we're rolling in the dough right away. Our business was doing well in the first 2-3 months, but it wasn't like we're making millions of dollars, right? And when Mimi says we made $1 million our first year, it was $1 million revenue, right? We did eventually make millions, right? Personally. However, the reality was, for me, that's why it didn't hit me right away. I'm like, I don't know why you're getting depressed here. This is not CERN at all. That's how, in my mind,
depressed too soon. Yeah. Too soon. We still need you.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is I was actually more logical in this situation, where I was like, well, this is not certain. How long is this going to last? Is this for real? Is this actually happening? And we didn't even have a full year cycle. So for me, it took a delay. And for me, as to your question, for me personally, it took
a certain number in
it
the
took
bank account.
it took over 7 figures in the bank account.
Yeah.
Because I thought, hey, once I have like $1 million in my
And
bank
your dream
account
car.
Exactly.
and my dream car and a house and whatever, like I
So
made it.
That moment of seeing
So
the
I had
zero
that.
click over. That's the interesting. Like,
No,
what
I
was-
didn't.
what
No,
is
I didn't say
that?
like it wasn't like a certain moment like that. But I'll say once again, having a certain vision of what you think you've made it is,
Yeah.
and going up to there. So like buying that car, buying that house, opening up your bank account and seeing 7 figures in there, and then being like, oh shit, I'm no different.
Yeah,
I'm still the
nothing
same
changed.
person. Nothing's
Yeah.
changed.
It's just a fucking digital number.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like
That's like
oh,
probably, at any day the bank could crash and like,
Yeah.
sorry, your digital numbers are going down. They're different now. You're like, what? I based my whole identity off of that for the last 17 years.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's gone. Whole system. That was all illusion. Sorry. It's over. Trump fucked it up.
you're really scaring me now here.
Oh, whatever. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Diversified.
Tinfoil hat. Diversified.
Yeah, and same thing like with a car, right? You make yourself up to think you're so cool in this convertible or whatever, and you have it. And like I said, for me, then I got to my dark place too. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I now get what you're experiencing. And for me, it was like a long time. It was a long journey, and that's when I started hitting those. When life really becomes gray. And I think life becomes gray when you stop having purpose. When your purpose was just to have a lifestyle or just to have money, right? And then you reach that. And for us, the thing is, for so many people in society, they just keep going on
More,
wheel. They're like, okay, I got this car, but I really need a Bentley, or I really need a Ferrari, or I'm flying, I need to fly business, or I need to fly private, or like there's always more.
When you get to the top of one, hedonic treadmill thing, then you're at the bottom of the next one.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh crap.
So
I was almost at the top before.
Yeah, so for Mimi, it was like she kind of understood right away it doesn't make sense. For me, it took a while, and then we're in it together. And we're like, okay, this doesn't really matter. And that's actually about the time for us when we did create the 5-minute journal. And I guess one of the reasons why the 5-minute journal was created was because we're also looking for a way to get ourselves out of that dark hole, and like, what habit can I create in order to shift my mindset to not just be focused on like scarcity and that like, why is the world so gray? It sucks and whatever, because the world can get really dark, like really fast. And the mind just zeroes into wherever you want it to go. And sometimes it's not in a healthy place.
So when the world gets dark, like that was something, again, listen to the same thing about the tribes and such. One of the things that the researchers related to their happiness was that they always know that they'll know how to survive. They always know that the forest or the jungle will provide. And, it's like no matter what happens, I have the skills to survive. I can build a house. I can catch more fish. So there's this deep sensation of like this stability and support because I'm connected. I'm truly connected to my environment. And it feels to me as though like Western culture predominantly is fairly disconnected from your environment.
Absolutely.
And our access point is like this, plastic credit card.
Yep. We don't trust. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It feels almost like it's like we're the anchor point. It's not really fully attached to anything. It feels like it's kind of like floating. Mm-hmm. You feel that at all?
Yeah, I understand.
I think
I could be making sure. I'm obviously like tinfoil hat guy.
Yeah,
but
you're pretty like, I guess you unplugged yourself from the Matrix.
I'm fully connected,
or in the Matrix, whatever you want to call it.
I'm fully addicted to my cell phone. I promise.
Yeah,
I'm part of the tribe.
I think for most people outside the bubble, especially outside of the bubble of Venice and Erewhon Market and things like that, is like most people are in the grind, and I think that's why people are tuning into podcasts like yours or others. This is a way, these kind of conversations is a way for people to realize like, oh crap, like they just listening to this podcast just burst my bubble that, why these people like saying that they got depressed by getting their dreams, like that won't happen to me. right? But in reality, if you look at and if you actually study people, especially people with lots of money, a lot of them are not happy. And it's not that, and once again, don't get it twisted where you can have an unhealthy relationship with money and money is evil and all that stuff. I'm just saying that you have to understand what is the point of you making more money, right? And a lot of times, actually,
what is the purpose?
The opposite, some really wealthy people are really wealthy because they just are really focusing on their purpose. And one of the things I didn't understand before, for example, like, why do you keep working when you have lots of money? Like, I never understood that. I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, you just you already have like more money than you need for a lifetime. Why do you keep working? But now I understand the reason these people keep working is because, well, either they keep wanting to have more power or whatever, or more money. That's one. But there's a different side as well from the people I came across where they're really working because it's not for the money. They'll put themselves on $1 salary. Like, they don't care. They're just really working because it's their art. It's their way. It's their purpose. It's their way to create or work on something special. So that's one of the things I think for people can skip. So what I tell people now is like, yes, you can go on. And if you really want to go after, making lots of money and material possession and things like that, it's cool. Go ahead, do it. But you can save yourself time by actually trying to go after your purpose now. And hey, and if your purpose and if your fulfillment only makes you 40 or 50 grand a year and you just live a regular life, but you're freaking happy, do that. Right? Because I think that's a lot more empowering than being miserable, making whatever 6 figures or 7 figures, what it is, but you're not actually fulfilled in what you do or the type of work that you do or the kind of community around or relationships around. That is so much more valuable. Like, I think me and you were talking about this before. I mentioned it, but in Ray Dalio's book, Principles, and this guy's like a mega billionaire, one of the wealthiest people in the world. He talks about his biggest learning is that the most important thing in life is doing meaningful work and having meaningful relationships in your life. It's that simple. True. And that means you don't need to be a billionaire. You need to be a millionaire. You can be a regular person, but as long as you have purpose and value and have meaningful work that you believe is meaningful. And to everybody, that's a different thing. You can be a janitor. You can think you're doing meaningful work because you're actually cleaning up the place and making it better for other people. That is meaningful. And having meaningful relationships in that workplace or with other people. So that I think it's really important for us to start redefining the way of just instead of this treadmill of like more and this person is successful, because success is very different, right? So that's what we realized for ourselves really is that it's do you and do what makes you happy. And even like us, for example, recently selling our business, a lot of people think like, oh wow, like you guys like really made it or sold your business. Selling our business was actually a dumb decision financially. What I mean by that, if I ask any of my friends who are financially wealthy, they'll say that if somebody else is willing to pay money for your business, like the reason they're willing to pay money for your business because they have liquid capital, they have cash that needs to be exercised so it can generate more money. And just because you have one cash event doesn't mean you won't. How do you then replace that income and get income coming in? Because once you start, the reason why so many lotto people go broke is because they still have a poor mentality. And the poor mentality is you're not generating income. Just because you have a lot of money, that doesn't mean you can't spend it, you need to think of how do you invest money and capital to regenerate it. So I'm saying for us, the way we really thought about our decision about to sell the business is we just weren't as aligned with that business. Although it's a great business, it generates lots of cash, but if Mimi and I,
we have evolved,
we have evolved beyond just selling hair extensions to people. It's a great business. It truly does add value to people. It makes lots of people happy. It's just not what we're into right now. So we as humans want to evolve. We want to do stuff that is more aligned to us, where we believe we can bring even more value to people. And we're trying to let go of stuff. And
to create more space and time.
Yeah, to do
more of what we're aligned with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because focus is everything. If you really want to be successful at whatever you're doing, you have to have focus at what you're doing. And it's something we've learned over time because we're trying to do so many things at the same time. And we're like, okay, this is why it's not working. To have traction, you have to have laser focus. And we're very idealistic. We believe that if we do the right thing, we're gonna attract abundance. We've seen it happen, and now we have a strong belief in that.
We gotta go get food.
Yeah. Quick question: Do you want to do a food break, or do you want to keep going?
Well, whatever. I'm indifferent.
I'm fine.
I mean,
Are you hungry?
No, because that's why I was looking by the phone, because they said it. But
We could have a-
I mean, we can go for another. This is about the end of it anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I'll keep all this stuff in
Yeah.
here, by the way. We're still recording. Thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it.
We haven't had dinner yet.
It's really
We're
late.
working hard for the listeners. I was curious with like when you're going through the dark phase.
Yeah.
How does one? Did you go through one as well, like a collapse?
Yeah, I said I
phase,
did.
Alex?
Yeah.
So both of you guys had that. Oh,
Yeah.
so what? How do you guys, both of you individually or
Yeah.
maybe together? What's like the process of kind of coming back into feeling homeostatic?
So for me, it was definitely Vipassana. I tried so
Oh,
many
cool.
things. I went to see like a shrink and read all these books and tried to Reiki and all these things, like alternative things, because I went to my doctor and they said, well, here are some antidepressants. And I said, okay, fine, but this is not going to solve the root issue of like, I want to know why this is happening. And I don't want to take pills for the rest of my life.
So it was like clinical depression. You were like diagnosed depressed.
No, I wasn't diagnosed. I just went for an appointment and I described what I was going through. And she said,
Like,
well, here's a prescription.
We've got the remedy. great.
Like, just take this. And then when I asked her for alternative, she said, well, look into yoga and like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're not trained to help you with alternative solutions. You go for somebody alternative for that.
Yeah.
So
At
I was
least
like,
she even
okay, great. At least,
suggested
she was kind enough to suggest that. I mean, so yeah, I did yoga, and then eventually I kind of pushed myself into meditation, because it was going on a 10-day silent meditation retreat was one of my biggest fears, because I'm a super extrovert. I love to be around people. I love talking. And it was like a death sentence to be like silent for 10 days and like in a very remote place. Was a very scary thing for me. But because I was so close to like losing it, like literally losing it, like you said last time, like having all your marbles together, like they weren't all together at that point, I just realized that I need to face my biggest fear. That's the only way out.
What does having your marbles dispersed
Look
like?
It just, you have no focus. You have like, I don't know. It's so hard to describe it. You just feel so overwhelmed. You can't really function in this reality. I feel like you can't really be yourself. You don't even know what you are anymore, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, as you're saying, it seems like
No.
a reformation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an evolution. It's a reformation. It's like what I realized after, because we were at the same time renovating a place. I realized I'm just going through construction, like internally. Like in order to have a nicer place, you need to construct the place. You can't go to a nicer place overnight. You need to bring in all these tools and people sometimes and go through the mess and chaos. And it was a great metaphor, because like we were renovating and I was like, okay, like I get it. This gives me hope. And yeah, it was probably 2 years. Like it was around I was around 25, I think. So I called it the quarter life crisis. But really, it was after Vipassana, I was just in such more powerful, emotionally powerful place. And then just kept practicing, not super regularly, not like daily or anything. But then I went back again, like I told you earlier today, like for another 10-day, but serving and meditating. And then, yeah, that was really it. So I do practice it, but not every day, to be honest. And I just see so much value from it. Not only connecting to yourself, having purpose and clarity, but also bringing out the creativity out of myself. Yeah, it's just, I get so many ideas in meditation. I mean, that's not the purpose. The purpose is just not to, to just focus on your breath sensation, but all these things come to me because you create space. And we hardly ever just create space and do nothing, because we have these iPhones and iPads, and there's just so much distraction in the modern life.
There's Android devices too.
Whatever, Android devices as well. There's so many of them out there too, and they take beautiful pictures, by the way. So I find that is so valuable, if not the most valuable thing, that I wonder sometimes why I don't do more of it. But I have a toddler in the house, so that's my excuse.
Yeah, I think just going, I guess, to my side as well and seeing Mimi's reformation and doing together, a few things that have really helped me as well. I would say for sure, you know, for us, that was really the birth and the basis of creating the 5-minute journal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for me,
the daily practice
of having the daily practice of doing that, of gratitude, of what are, you know, 3 amazing things that happened today.
Did you get that from somewhere else? Like, did you get a recommendation to start making a gratitude list? Because I feel like you, in a large part, I think, popularized, like the 5-minute journal, I think has been really impactful, at least in the communities that I'm around.
It's crazy how impactful it's been, right? So it's sold.
But you know the funny story? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
No, because I was going to talk about the funny stories, and we totally forgot this until very recently. Like, we met somebody randomly in a coffee shop, and like
yes.
I just sparked a conversation. I do that very rarely, but when I do, I like make lifelong friends.
This is so true.
So she was journaling, and I was just really curious. I'm a very curious person, so I was like, oh, should I ask? Should I not? And she looked like an interesting person. I said, finally, I braved enough, and I was like, what are you journaling about? I'm so curious. And she showed us these like printout papers. She's a lady in her 50s, probably. Now she's in her 60s, but she was in her 50s then. So she literally would print out just papers and stack of papers, and she had all these questions that she would answer every day. And I think gratitude was definitely
like,
one of them.
What am I grateful for? It was like,
Gina, if you're listening, thank you so much for partly inspiring the 5-minute journal. And then, of course, there was a bunch of other things.
So that lady in the coffee shop, Gina, was really kind of one of the inspirations for that, because with those pages. But also, prior to even that, one practice that I did do before that I kind of fell off of, and we talked about it before, was really the practice of waking up in the morning and thinking of one thing that I'm grateful for. That's something I did for a very long time, and I'll say that really contributed to a lot of my success, and that is from Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. And he actually doesn't say that. I just kind of hacked it in the way he does this whole like power hour that you were trying to do the other day.
I got in the freezer.
Yeah,
so powerful.
Exactly. You stared at the sun.
Exactly. So you're kind of creating your power hour, meaning making your first hour of the day the most powerful. You're doing your run, your meditation, all those things. So when it's cold in Canada, you really don't want to go outside. You don't want to run. You don't want to, although it's probably good for Wim Hof and doing all that stuff. But at that time there was no Wim Hof, and so it didn't look so cool going minus 30 Celsius, probably similar Fahrenheit degrees.
I think it's the same.
Yeah, it's probably the same.
Isn't it the same? Once it gets past zero.
So, I don't know.
So
is
different. Sorry, it's beside the point.
Yeah, it's about the same. So for me, it was
it's really cold.
Yeah, it's cold. And so for me to make myself feel better, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to do this gratitude walk outside, which Tony says to do, is to go outside and do this gratitude walk. I said, I'm just going to wake up and think of one thing that I'm grateful for. So that was kind of one of the first pillars for that. And of course, my friend and partner and co-founder of the journal, UJ, he had this like 1 to 2 hour journaling technique, which is, I think it was like overkill.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna journal for an hour or 2 hours a day, and I don't know how you have time to do this. I don't. I need something for like 5 minutes. I got 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so let's do something. Let's create something that's gonna be like 5 minutes or less. Something that's very quick and effective, that anybody can use and I can use in my life. Like kind of, I guess, being an entrepreneur, thinking like that I don't have time. Really, just being efficient and effective. And then there was also a great TED Talk and a book. Of course, Gina was one of the inspirations for that with her little printout. And then there was also a book called Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker, which really talked about a lot of research on gratitude, of journaling, of affirmations, and all these things, how they're proven to really get you out of that state. So 5-minute journal was really my passion project and purpose for myself. I literally said, if we just print 1,000 of these, and if it fails, I'm happy that I've created this and I can use this in my own life. Yeah. That's it.
Authenticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so the way I designed it, the way we created it was solely for like our personal use. It wasn't really intended to once again sell 500,000 copies or make millions of dollars. None of that. It was just like, hey, I just want to have this in my life and I'll give it out to friends.
Yeah.
And that's how it was born. And for me, I would say that was a transformational tool because using it how it's intended, meaning doing it first thing in the morning, doing it last thing at night, and being consistent with it. The reason it's in maybe the circles where you hang out and stuff like that is, of course, there's certain pillar individuals like Mimi or Tim Ferriss have really kind of promoted to their 1,000 true fans and audience.
Because we actually use it and it makes a difference.
Yeah. However, through that, it's people who have put it to use it's just the way it grows is through word of mouth, is through actually working for people. The same way as works for me in my life. And, I didn't do Vipassana. I've never done Vipassana. I think it's really intense. And for anybody that does it, it's great. So, but for me, I'm a little lazy, and this is my little way.
I'm too lazy to sit in place all day.
Yeah, this is really my way to hack happiness and getting out of depression.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the journal. I've been off the journal for a little bit.
Should get on it.
I gotta get back.
There's still time.
Thanks for your honesty.
Yeah.
We've been there.
Yeah, we've been there as well.
It's funny how that happens with habits, and I think also habits serve you for a time, and then sometimes it's okay to pick up another habit and pick up another one. It's like
Yeah. But I think what you notice, even because I've been as a creator, I've been off it sometimes is especially when our daughter came into our lives. Like that's when you have a child, that's the ultimate like
so chaotic.
Transformation and the construction of the project on your life. And then but what I realized even for myself, when you get off something that has really been useful in your life, you also kind of see like, whoa, like when I use I'm way more effective. Like I feel way better when I use the 5-minute journal.
Yeah.
In terms of my state, let's say.
What is the next thing come that I haven't checked out yet that I'm excited to? The planner.
Oh, the productivity planner?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the productivity planner. So the productivity planner is more about the same thing. People think, oh, Alex is really productive. That's why he created the productivity planner. No, it's the completely opposite. Even though we've been able to create, multiple businesses, create this life for ourselves, like I'm not productive at all.
What would you recommend for people, get the productivity planner, but if you don't have access to such thing, where a few bullet points for people to make themselves more productive?
No, but you do have access. I think the beauty of what we do is we make access available to you, meaning you go on our website, intelligentchange.com, and you can check out, you see what's inside the 5-minute journal or the productivity planner. Oh, cool. And before,
you can just create it in your notebook.
Before the reason we created the 5-minute journal or productivity planner as products is because my writing is horrendous. It's very like chicken scratch. Yeah. And it's just, I'm a very aesthetic. I like things that are pretty. And I just wanted to create things where I don't have to write the same thing every day and it's like messy. And I just wanted to be at least part of the page to be pretty, along with my chicken scratch, to give some structure to the mess. And with productivity planner, let's say, or a 5-minute journal, you just go on our website, you check out the format, you see what it's like. We even share the kind of the intro pages with you and things like that, where you get to learn more about the method. But the productivity planner, all it is it's a combination of the Pomodoro technique, which is just working 25 minutes at a time, or you can create your own time that you're comfortable with, and it's kind of working in sprints and taking 5-minute breaks. And then also combining that with the Ivy Lee method. And the Ivy Lee method is really simple. It's just more about doing 3 to 5 tasks a day max. Max. So you don't a lot of people think it's how much you accomplish. The reality is what are you doing? And with those 3 to 5 tasks, your first thing needs to be the most important task of the day. And most of us, and this is what I used to do before, I would have this to-do list and I would just cherry pick the stuff that I want to do versus the stuff that I need to do that will actually move the needle for me. And so same for me, when I do the productivity planner, I actually follow the structure, I'm way more productive. And it's like I said, before there was a productivity planner, I just did it in my regular, it was a Moleskine, it was a fancy one, which costs just as much as a productivity planner. So you might as well just buy the productivity planner. However, you can go to a dollar store and buy yourself a $1 notebook and still do the same method in there, meaning you do your 3 to 5 tasks, you do the bullet points, but our products is just a way to have the format, make it easier to use, and have it aesthetic and Instagram friendly in a way where it looks nice on your desk or on your bedside table. It's an experience.
It feels like it's really valuable, and then we are going to wrap up because now we're going above and beyond. We're probably all really hungry, but it feels really valuable to write, crystallize your thoughts, because it creates accountability. So I find it's really easy for days, especially when you're having fun, which is great. This is probably like the Maasai people and the Paraha and whatnot, but days just kind of, they flip over to the next and flip over to the next and flip over to the next, and when you write that down and you actually make yourself accountable for the thing, you're like, okay, now it needs to be done. So I've found that really helpful. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think most probably just to anybody listening with any of these practices, with what we mentioned in regards to, let's say, the journals we've created or meditation or anything like that, is the realization that you won't ever probably be perfect.
Yeah.
And meaning it's the exercise of doing it, maybe like sitting for meditation 10 minutes a day, and even if it's a crappy meditation, or you feel like it's crappy meditation, there's no such thing. You just sitting there and trying to do the practice, you already are improving and getting better.
What is that quote? It's like 70% is just showing up, or 80%, whatever percent.
Yeah.
Just gonna get your ass there.
Yeah, exactly.
That's in any area of life, really, whether you're working out or working on your business or.
Yeah, and so same thing we'll say with my experience with Productivity Planner as a creator itself is that I still have really unproductive days. And I still have days even when I use the Productivity Planner and I'm like, I really don't want to do the most important task. Or, however, the motion of going there and trying to do it, you're building up your kind of like thought muscle or focus muscle, because the whole point of doing a Pomodoro and just focusing on one task at a time, for a lot of people, including myself, it's very hard, because we're living this generation of just being multitasked and doing so many things at a time and having your notifications go off. The reality is, like, it's not serving you. And the more, this is just a practice as a way to help you hone in that focus skill that can help you just accomplish so much more in life, meaning towards your purpose, towards whatever you want to do and create in this world.
Awesome. Where should we point people from here to learn?
So we're both on Instagram and YouTube, and you can find us at, I'm at Mimi Ikonn, MIMIIKONN on Instagram and YouTube. So same handle. And Alex is Alex Ikonn.
And you can also listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
We got a podcast.
Yeah, we got a podcast. So we're competing with you for air.
Sure,
for your ears. We're competing for your ears. So make sure that you can go and just search Icons, IKONNS, on your favorite platform, wherever you listen to, on Android or Apple. We don't discriminate. Just listen and download those episodes. And we even have episodes where we talk people through our whole journey, how we built, scaled, and sold our business, for example. That's a longer episode, like 2 hours, where we really take you through our journey. We've covered some of that today. And of course, Intelligent Change. You can go on intelligentchange.com. We also have, if you need some organic hair care products, we can also go on.
Our new baby.
Our new baby is lovehair.com and at lovehair on Instagram. So I'm sure your crowd is all about organic, sustainable, vegan, cruelty-free, all that stuff. So check that out. And just, Aaron, thank you so much for having us, for hanging out, for being in the space. And we're probably way late. I don't know if they're going to let us in for our reservation, but
doesn't matter. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us the space.
I'm legitimately a little bit, I'm going through maybe a similar hump of depression, realizing you guys aren't coming back as soon as I thought.
It's okay, maybe we'll move here. Who knows?
It's okay. This was my peak experience tonight, and then I find out you guys aren't coming back for another year or something like that. Oh well. Anyways, all right. Thank you all for tuning in. Let's go get some food.
Yeah, let's do it.
Pow.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I want to present y'all with a fun opportunity of starting a program that I created called the Align Method Online Program that focuses on unwinding the unsightly patterns of staring into technology, essentially. So forward head posture, rolled forward shoulders, hyperkyphotic spine, disengaged glutes, knees collapsing in. If there's collapse in any level in the body, it will trickle up and down through the rest of the system. And that program focuses on unwinding those things, giving you self-care practices, movement practices, and lifestyle adjustments, very subtle ones, that will give y'all more flexibility, more strength, more confidence, more energy, all the good things. And you can start the first week absolutely free, and just go to alignpodcast.com/Align Method, ALIGN method. Along with that, guy, you will receive the Align band, which is a heavy-duty resistance band with a door anchor, and that also comes with its own online program that is free with that thing. Go to alignband.com and start that program for free. I think that's it. I so greatly appreciate you guys listening to this conversation. So greatly appreciate reviews on iTunes, sharing on the Instagrams or the Facebooks or wherever you do your shares. This program goes on, lives on because of y'all. So it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reviews. Thanks for joining your life. Enjoy. Pow.